To our live stream. Today I am doing a live Q&A specifically for teachers who are going to be teaching art remotely in the fall as a follow-up to some of our other content that we've released earlier on tips and tricks for teaching art remotely. If you would like to grow as an artist and you can't afford an art class, we've got everything you need here at Art Prof, critiques and tutorials. To kick off this Q&A, I would like to show you guys some of the online resources that we have compiled for teachers who are teaching studio art remotely online. And so I highly recommend you guys go to artprof.org, which is our main site, and you'll see in the menu, there's a new section called Teaching and Learning Art Online. So if you click on that section, it will take you to this main page, which has basically a menu, and you can always get back to this page no matter where you are on the site by just going to this section in the menu bar. And if you go to this main page and then you scroll down, because there's information here about lectures that I do, I'm available for consulting. A lot of schools and school districts have been asking me to help them strategize how to teach remotely. So if you scroll down on this page and you go down to the bottom, there is this menu and you can see there are different sections. Like, for example, there's a section here that I just added literally this morning on equipment for teachers needing to do an online art demo, because I know there's a lot of really bad information out there about different pieces of equipment. And so if you guys go to that page, it will take you to this page, which then has a huge chart of the recommended equipment. I have links in there that take you to the exact item. And these are Amazon affiliate links, which means that artprof.org does get a small percentage of any purchases that go through. On top of that, we also have equipment to avoid. So those of you guys, if any of you are using these items to do your setup, I really recommend that you not use them. I do explain in this video exactly what are some of the issues that you'll encounter with some of those pieces of equipment, but that should be really helpful for those of you guys who I know are trying to really troubleshoot exactly how to do the online demo. And then you'll also see there's a huge page that just says tips for art teachers. So if you click on that, at the bottom, we have tons of videos that I've put together. We are preparing more content because I know a lot of people are really gearing up actually to teach pretty soon. A lot of the schools start in mid-August, maybe sooner than that. A lot of college professors are getting ready for the fall. And so this is the first video I released, tips for teaching studio art online, mistakes to avoid. Those of you guys who are watching right now, tell me in the chat, are you a studio art teacher? Tell me what age group you teach, maybe what subject matter. I know there's a lot of people out there who teach ceramics in 3D who I know are struggling for obvious reasons when you don't have clay. It's really, really hard to teach ceramics, but there are certainly options that are available. So tell me in the chat right now if you're an art teacher, and it's cool if you're not, but this session really is for people who have questions about how to do the tutorials. If you guys have questions about live streaming, any of those logistics, I do really recommend, though, that if you have not watched this tutorial, that you take a look at this tutorial, because it answers a lot of basic foundational questions about remote teaching. We have a question from Lauren Schiller. Lauren is saying, thanks so much for this. I watched a 2-hour presentation yesterday. Any advice for those of us who will be expected to teach HyFlex, both in person and online simultaneously? Will require a different setup. I'm trying to figure it out. I teach painting at a university. Okay, that's a really good question. I should probably put out a video on how to do a hybrid model, because actually what I'm hearing a lot from teachers, which I think is insane, is that a lot of these districts are expecting teachers to do the hybrid model literally at the same time. Like, I actually talked to somebody who is the supervisor of a school district a few days ago, and they're hiring me to do consulting for their teachers, that these people are expecting that, okay, you'll be a teacher in the brick and mortar classroom with a camera on you that records your live demo as you do it in front of students in class. I'm like, no way. You're basically asking Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer, could you please just swim double the speed that you normally swim? Like, that's not going to happen, because what ends up happening if you try to record an online demo while you're doing a brick and mortar demo, both sides lose. You're going to end up with a really poorly shot video, unless you have a full-out camera crew, which who has that, or you're going to compromise the ability for the brick and mortar students to visibly see exactly what it is you're doing. And so what I'm really advocating for a lot of teachers to do is, listen, don't make a video for every single demo. That's ridiculous. That's a crazy amount of time. And I really think, you guys, there's a lot of really good content out there. There's no reason that you need to reinvent the wheel. So I would just say that the better way to do it is to pick a video that you can give to the remote students and say, okay, here's a video you guys can watch, and then accompany it with maybe an audio recording of you that explains and contextualizes the project. And maybe you give some of your thoughts in the video itself. Brick and mortar kids get your demo in class. And so you use a video, whatever video you want, as the foundation of that project, so everybody can reference that one video, whether they are remote, whether they are in person. Everybody builds around that video, because it's insane for you guys to have to try to do it physically, both at the same time. Wow, we got a lot of people in here. We've got Annie, who's teaching middle school and high school. We've got Christine, art teacher, high school, ceramics, drawing, and digital art. Mario directs a citywide visual arts and performing education in LA. And Samina is an art teacher teaching A-level art and design, teaching online, would like to know more about giving demos. Great. Wow, we have a lot of people in here. Okay, so you guys who are teachers who are giving me all this information, ask me specific questions about what it is you guys want to know about, because I think what's really challenging about this whole situation is that there are so many little logistics that are difficult to keep track of. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people is they're basically being asked to do the impossible, which is to do everything at the same time. And you cannot, okay? So I would really advise you guys that you look at sites like, for example, PBS Art 21. I'll put this in the chat right now so you guys have this information. I would also say another good site, which is also free for art history, is Smart History, okay? We also, of course, have tutorials here at Art Prof. And so I just don't think that people have to do as much from scratch as they're being told. And I understand very much this concern that, okay, well, it's your class. Obviously, you want to feel that it's really coming from you. But I think if you accompany other people's videos with your commentary, it does make it yours. I think that if you explain why the content in the video is important, or what are some concepts you want the students to really pay attention to, that can be very, very helpful. Evie is saying, spring, I made videos, edited them versus making them live. Like the idea of the live format. Concern I have is the length and student access to data, internet, etc. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an imperfect system, obviously, because the kids are at home. It's not even in terms of internet access and everything. But honestly, I don't really think there's a big difference in terms of whether a student can watch a live video versus a pre-recorded video. From what I've seen, it's the same amount of data or internet strength. So I don't think that if it's a live video, it will take more data. I could be wrong, okay? But in my experience watching live videos and pre-recorded videos, I don't think there's a really big difference. I mean, the thing about length, and some of you guys have probably heard me talk about this in some of the other videos, is that if you guys give them a pre-recorded video, it's astounding how much of it they're not going to watch. First of all, they do not start at the beginning. They start at the end. They watch the last minute first. They scrub through the video. They never watch it. And you know something else? You teachers, you guys probably didn't even know this. I didn't know this until my 13-year-old started doing it with her videos. They don't watch them at regular speed. Did you know that on YouTube, you can double the speed of the video? And so if you're watching a demo video and you speed it up, people are like talking like this, and this is how they listen to the tutorial. It's very important. That's how the students are going to listen to your pre-recorded video. And so if you want them to really listen to what you have to say about a demo or about anything, do it live, because live is the way to get people to pay attention. And you guys who are in the chat right now, there's 46 people watching live. You can interact with each other. I know a lot of the students who I spoke to last spring felt very, very isolated, and they did not have that casual interaction. And the chat really is like that, because oftentimes when I do live streams here, I'll be talking about something. I can't address what's happening in the chat, but you guys can really chat with each other. And so that's an opportunity for student interaction online that I found did not really happen when people were just isolated to being on Zoom calls. Let's see. Christiana Taylor, best way to network for fields like animation and illustration. You know what? Let's address that at another stream, Christiana, or maybe you can leave me a comment on YouTube somewhere, because today I really want to focus on the teachers and what they need to teach remotely online. Annie is asking, I'm planning on using Google Classroom for the assignments and links to YouTube videos and due dates. Has anyone used a different platform, pros and cons? I'll tell you, Annie, I just put everything in Google Drive. I have never used Google Classroom, so I don't feel that I have very much of a commentary on that. But I just found that if I put everything in the Drive and I have a folder for every single student, they can just get everything off there, and there's a Google Drive app. And I found that as a really good landing page for where to access everything. Another thing that a lot of teachers were very concerned about was definitely, I would say, communication with students was also very tricky for a lot of them. And I think one thing you guys really want to think about is actually doing a Discord server for communication, because actually I used Instagram chat and that was okay, but Discord is a lot better because you can have different channels. And I also liked it better because people couldn't really look at all your stuff so much. Like on a Discord server, people just see your name and you can assign a role, but it's different than, say, Facebook, where it's like, whoa, people go into your profile, they look at all your photos and stuff like that. So I think Google Drive is pretty easy, but looks like a lot of people are saying that they're using Google Classroom. And let's see, Sunny is saying, there's a website teachers use to make sure we watch the whole video. Forgot what it's called, but you can't skip around or speed it up. You're required to answer simple questions as you go. Yeah, but see, in my opinion, you might as well just do a live video then. You know, it's like, that almost is more frustrating from my point of view, because you can't really like force people to do things in that way. I think in a live video, it just feels so much more casual. Like right now, you guys, those of you who are watching the live video, what are you doing? Probably half of you aren't even out of your pajamas yet. Probably some of you are sipping a cup of coffee. It's actually very nice and laid back, I find, with a lot of these live sessions. Janet Lauren Hill is saying Google Drive and Google Classroom are not accessible to international students in China. That is true. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of the international students, some of them use a VPN, but it's not reliable. It's definitely not the easiest thing to access, so it can be very tricky. I don't know about Discord. I have not heard that it's not accessible, but Discord certainly because of the way the channels are set up. You could certainly do something like that. And Marissa is saying, I have an Instagram school page for student art. Lots of communication happened through there. That's a great example because, oh my God, students are on Instagram so much. And I just found that if I emailed them, it would be like, I don't know, a month before they actually got back to me. And if I sent them an Instagram message, it was like within an hour. So I think that those are really important things to keep in mind, because I think what I'm hearing a lot, and teachers, you tell me this as well, is I feel like I'm hearing a lot from people that, oh, well, nobody knew how to do Zoom before, but now everybody's used to it. And because everybody has Zoom, we should just keep doing Zoom. And I'm like, but Zoom is like a conferencing app. It's not there to do live videos. And so I just really think I'm really anti-Zoom. From what I've seen from a lot of the students, Zoom has so few good qualities that I think are not helping students at all right now. So I would just really advise against using Zoom unless it really is truly like just a conversation, in which case I think it's totally fine. Let's see. Shane is saying the problem with live is I teach students with multiple kids at home, plus parents working. So kids can't always get access to the technology when I'm live. The thing is, though, to keep in mind is that a live video does get recorded. And so you can release it later. So that's the thing about live video that I think is very compelling, is that I think I'm hearing from a lot of people that are saying, well, should I do synchronous? Should I do asynchronous? And the thing about live video is it's both, because you have the live stream, but then it's also recorded so people can watch it later. So I think the thing about live, it's like win-win situation. Like you get the best of both worlds. So I recommend doing that. Josh is saying, I use Discord to collaborate with artists in China. I think Discord is unblocked, not 100% sure. I have not heard about it. I mean, I have a couple of interns working on Art Prof right now, and one of them is in China. And I don't think she had a problem with Discord, because she did say that to me when we were using Google stuff. So I'll have to look into that. But I think it's pretty likely that that is going to be the case. So teachers, let me know what your concerns are, because I know that a lot of people have a lot of worry about, well, first of all, I think just the lack of predictability is very challenging for a lot of people. But I don't know, I almost feel like the hybrid model is like, it's like spreading people way too thin. And that worries me, because teachers are already overworked as it is. I mean, we're already people who spend a lot of time on our jobs, and to be asked to do both, I think is really, really hard. Yeah, like Danya is saying here, I appreciate watching the live videos after I have missed it actually live. Yeah, and so it's a bummer if you miss it live, but it's like it's still there and you can still do it. And so the idea is that with live video, the opportunity to watch it live is there. But the thing is, if you pre-record everything, it's a lot of work. And teachers, tell me in the chat, are you guys actually going in and editing your videos? Because I definitely am somebody who made that mistake. When I first started, I was like scripting everything. I was doing voiceovers. And the problem with all that, it does not really reflect an experience that's even remotely close to what's happening in terms of trying to replicate a brick and mortar situation. So I think that's a really important thing to consider, because these pre-recorded videos, it's like there's so many pre-recorded videos online already. And so if you're going to custom make anything, make it live. We got some little tips here from Marissa, and they are saying Google Meet has captioning. Discovered it because my brother is deaf, and then found it can translate too. It's not 100% just like Google Translate, but it's better than nothing. You know something? I'm really glad that you said that, Marissa, because I have found that the prevailing theme about teaching online, and this is the pure truth, I'm not trying to be a bummer, you take what you can get. That really is what it comes down to, because you really have to pick. Like, you have to say, well, I can either have people learn something, or I could have them learn nothing. And it's like, yes, ideally, we would much rather that people get 100%. But the thing is, it's like, if I have to pick between 50% and 0%, I'm going to take the 50%. So that is very, very important. We have a comment from Pam, who is saying, what is the best way to present the art problem assignment and then allow for varied pacing and progress checks? Great question. I think that it would be really good to ask the students to take a photo at different points in the progress. So let's say you have a painting project and you say, I want you to block in all of the lines. Take a photo after that. Next, I want you to block in all the basic colors, then take a photo. Then I want you to block in the shadows, then take a photo. Because another question I've gotten is teachers have been asking, oh, well, should I have the students draw live on camera so I can watch them drawing live and comment while they're drawing? I had a professor, well, not me, but I heard about a professor who did that last semester, and the students hated it. They said it was the biggest waste of time. They said didn't learn anything from that. And so I actually think taking photos at different points of the progression of the artwork is a much better way to get insight into, okay, well, how did the student really develop this painting? What was their mindset? Because you guys can tell me in the chat, oftentimes I will catch issues when the student is only a quarter of the way there, and I can help them much more. So that way they don't fall into a lot of traps. It's like, oh, wow, it's like way too far along to fix. So oftentimes if you get into the project earlier in that stage, you can really talk to them more about, okay, well, maybe here are some things you could do next. And I think that might work a lot better. Rachel is saying, I tried editing on my own. It was way too much work and too much time. Absolutely. I mean, I do pretty high-end edited videos here at Art Prof, and I only release them once every few months because they are so time-consuming to do. I mean, granted, I don't think everybody does it the way that I do it. I'm sort of a perfectionist, but even the quickest, dirtiest version of editing that you can do, way more work than live video. And the thing about live video is once you have live video set up and ready to go, you just change a couple things, you click live and you're done. And then you process the video and it's so little work. By comparison, it's so much closer to in person. So I really, really recommend that. Let's see. Erin is saying, I'm concerned the online platform projects as a one-size-fits-all idea. How do you differentiate instruction online? Erin, can you talk a little bit more specifically? Are you talking about other people's videos, or are you just talking about projects that can be formatted for an online audience? I mean, I think it's tricky because you do need to be pretty flexible. And like one thing that I definitely did when I taught online is I said to my drawing students, use whatever supplies you have, because I could not say you need to use Conte Crayon because I didn't know that everybody would have access to that. So yeah, if you could give me a few more specifics, Erin, maybe then I can answer your question a little bit better. And Rachel is saying, do you have a tutorial of your own on how to do live video? I do. And let me see if I can back up and find that, this one. Okay, so if you guys go to Teaching and Learning Art Online, you will see this video that says how to set up an art demo. So I talk about how you can use things like OBS, which is open broadcasting software, to hook up to your YouTube Live, and that will show you how to do a live video. We have a question from Lisa. One thing I found is my students are missing out on seeing each other's work, missing out on the crit experience. I've used Flipgrid. Any other suggestions? Okay, well, one thing, Lisa, that I've been doing is after I stream a live drawing tutorial, I will actually go into Discord which is basically like a chat forum. It's sort of like almost like Reddit in a way, except it's a lot more private. I mean, anybody can join, but you can boot people out in 2 seconds, or you can say, okay, well, maybe just these people are allowed. So you can control a lot more. It's not the same thing as Reddit, but it's Reddit-like in that it's all text, it's all images and stuff like that. And so what I say to people is like, okay, well, after the live stream, everybody go into the Discord and post what you made. And so that then consolidates that. Because the thing about the Instagram chat that I did earlier is that the Instagram chat to me was a little bit frustrating because stuff gets lost really, really fast, which is not a good thing because it's like everything just scrolls. But in Discord, it's a lot easier to go backwards and find things. So I really recommend, if you guys can do it, is set up a Discord. Let me see if I can pull up a slide for how to show that to you guys. I'm having trouble with my Google Slides today. It's not. Oh, here we go. Let me see. It doesn't like my images today. Okay, anyway, we'll try that again. Marissa's saying mini deadlines allow you to see who needs to get pushed, challenged, needs modifications, not as fluid as the classroom when we float around in daily mini critique. Yeah, I mean, I think the main issue that I've seen is that when you teach online, there is not really the option to be spontaneous the way that there is when you are in the classroom. Because in the classroom, if I felt like, oh, wow, they're not getting it, I could just say, okay, guys, we need to do an extra demo. But the thing about teaching online is that if you don't have that demo ready to go and everything's set up, you can't do it. And so that's the thing, is there's very little room for spontaneity when you teach online. And that's something I really had to get used to because I was so used to being able to do that. Mario says in Los Angeles, we use school distribution centers to get art supplies to students. They get signed out. Oh, wow, that's a huge job. Kudos to you guys for putting that together. So yeah, I mean, that's a really ideal situation. I know in the spring, we just did not even have that as an option. So that was very tricky for a lot of people, but maybe now that we are able to step back and look at the situation a little bit more, that would be more helpful. And tell me in the chat what else you guys are using, because one thing that I'm seeing from a lot of the students, they're telling me that they feel spread way too thin and that they're across too many platforms. And so what I'm advocating for actually whole departments, because I've been doing consulting for some of the art departments at some universities, is look, if you can just have everybody agree to have everyone use these platforms, things are going to be a lot better because, oh my goodness, like I watched students navigating 6 or 7 platforms and it was a nightmare for them. I mean, it's hard enough for us. And it's really, really hard for the students as well. And so I'm a big, big fan of consolidating these things as much as you possibly can, because it's so hard for the students the way things are right now. So I really recommend trying to do that. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing to keep in mind about teaching online, it's not a direct translation. Like I think that a lot of people tried that in the spring, where they said, okay, my drawing class is usually 2 hours long, therefore the Zoom call needs to be 2 hours. No. Just because it's 2 hours in real life does not make it 2 hours online. That is not a good idea. You have to reformat things because people can't stand a Zoom call that long. In fact, I sort of feel like I need to make a video that basically says, these are the 2 circumstances under which Zoom is good and everything else is not good. I mean, people are saying things to me like, oh, we all know Zoom. The school is invested in Zoom. So we need to find a way to hook up Zoom to OBS. And I'm like, OBS does not hook up to Zoom. Okay. Zoom is not live streaming software. It is not the same thing. And so just because you have Zoom, it doesn't mean you need to use it. I know it was popular. I know a lot of schools used it, but honestly, it's really not that good for studio art. I mean, maybe it's better for a liberal arts course, but it was not helpful in a lot of circumstances. Heather is saying, interested in creating community on Discord for my tutorials to share their work. Any tips for this? I have a Facebook group, but I love your Discord discussions. Well, I would say, yeah, I would move to Discord because we were on Facebook for a while. I had all of our critique groups on there. But the thing is, we found, number one, there was not very much interaction. And number two, tell me if you think this is the case. I feel that on Facebook, there's oftentimes a competitive bragging type of atmosphere. And I don't know if it's because Facebook lets you peek into people's personal profiles, but Discord does not. That's probably part of it. But I just felt on Discord that people were less about showing off and looking great and just getting to the topic a lot more quickly. So it was just more about the discussion. It was less about like, look at how successful I am. And I feel that a lot of Facebook is about that. And so I recommend that. I actually did not set up the Art Prof Discord. I had one of my staff do it, but I'm sure there has to be stuff online on how to get it set up. So if you look up one of those tutorials. Marissa says, on the flip side, I had kids make more personal work because they knew their peers would not see their work. Yeah, there are certainly little pockets of online teaching that I think do benefit some of the kids that tend to be a little bit more shy. Like, for example, I had a student who said to me, I really like the live discussions because I can type into the chat, where sometimes if it's in an in-person situation, I just can't get my comment in. And I feel like it's hard for me to advocate for myself. But in live chat, they felt a lot more relaxed. And so those are definitely some of the things that can be helpful. Erin is saying, our district needs to use Office 365, mainly Teams. Worried that the way the platform works does not allow for art educators to address specific needs for students. Have any suggestions for this? You know something, I've never used that before. I think it's MS Office. Anyway, I'm not familiar with that software, but does your district give you no flexibility outside of that? Because it depends. Like some schools, there's legal reasons why you're not allowed to use certain platforms. It's hard because I don't know that software. So sorry, I can't be as helpful there. But yeah, a lot of these platforms, like they're okay for a liberal arts class, but they're not okay for studio art. Like studio art's so specific in terms of the needs that we have as art teachers. Yeah, and Michelle is saying you run into a problem with too many people using the same platforms. For example, Schoology. It was a nightmare of overloads. Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I really advocate for YouTube, because YouTube really can handle it. YouTube has, I think I read somewhere, every minute, YouTube gets 500 hours of new video. I mean, that's insane that like any platform can handle that. But I do find that a lot of these school programs, it's like they just don't have the power to run on something like that. And so I feel like YouTube is a little bit better. Annie says, I've been enjoying Art Prof discussions on Discord. Love how you can organize by topics. Easy to find resources and specific discussions. Yeah, and you guys will notice also on Discord that you can make a new channel anytime you want. And so that's how we usually create the new channels, is people say, hey, it'd be really nice to have a channel where we can really focus on character design. And so everybody who wants to talk about character design can go hang out in that channel. And so I really am advocating Discord. I mean, I think Discord right now, at least, is somewhat of a generational thing because you guys tell me if this is the case, but people over the age of 40 are on Facebook, and kids in middle school and high school, they're on Discord. And so now I think the adults, those of us who are over the age of 40, we're now discovering that, wow, Discord is actually really great. But if you don't know about Discord, Discord really was used initially mostly by gamers, people who are into fandoms and stuff like that. But I think now people are realizing how different it is. Yeah, like Heather Boyd is saying, Discord seems like a closer knit community. It depends on the community. I mean, I have definitely seen Discord servers that are not well moderated. and it's the Wild West and people being not nice and stuff like that. You can definitely have that version of Discord. And I will say it does take work to moderate a Discord. I mean, I have a staff of people that help moderate and keep an eye out on different things. If we notice that, oh, whoa, this person's getting a little bit aggressive, or if somebody is really rude, like you definitely have to spend time monitoring and supervising a Discord. Like I would not say that a Discord is something you can just put up and let it go. That's not something that you want to do. It definitely is something that takes work. But if I were to teach again this fall, I think I would have not done Instagram chat, and I think I definitely would have done a Discord. So I really, really recommend doing that. And by the way, if you guys want to join the Art Prof Discord, the link is in the video description below. I have been really wanting to get more educators on there because I think a lot of people are needing this information. And so definitely join, because I'm in there every single day. We have a whole staff of people. It's a really nice group of people. I think right now we have about 1,300 members. And so it seems to be growing quite a bit, which is really, really cool. All right, let me see if I can get Google Slides to actually cooperate, because it's having a lot of trouble loading all this stuff. So what I think I'm going to do right now is I'm going to reload my slideshow. And while I'm doing that, maybe you guys can let me know what else is going on, what you're concerned about, because I know there's just a lot of things that are really confusing for people right now. Okay, let me see if I can get this going, because I do want to show you guys what this looks like if I can get the slides to go. Here we go. Okay, so here's what I wanted to show you guys. So this is what I actually have been doing here at Art Prof, but there's no reason teachers can't do this as well, is if you're doing a live drawing demonstration, you can have the students draw along with you. And people do this after my live drawing sessions. And then afterwards, what happens is we go into the Discord and we share stuff. So check it out. It's really, really cool. I mean, I did a live drawing stream a couple days ago. I went into the Discord 5 minutes after, and literally there were like 40 drawings in that channel of people who were drawing along with me. I mean, that is so cool, you guys. And it's just a really nice community when I tell people, okay, look, you guys, we're going to be there after the live stream. Yeah, Heather is saying, I have 4 moderators on Facebook. I find there's too much noise on Facebook. Yep, I'm done with Facebook. Facebook is not something I need to have in my life so much. Okay, we've got a comment from Kenneth. I had an art tutorial on YouTube, but when you have Bob posting videos for free, people will go to his site. Can you be a little bit more specific, Kenneth? I'm not sure I understand your comment, so I just want to make sure I know it. Sandy is saying, Sandy here, is this really live right now? Yes, it is. And you are on the screen with me. So yes, we are live right now. And Heather is saying, I really want to do this for my jewelry making demos. So let me show you guys. This is the setup in case you missed it in my other videos. So basically what I have is my laptop. I have a mic. I have a second monitor. I have a daylight lamp with a lighting umbrella, and I have a mic stand. I have a webcam that I attach with a rubber band, and I have a stool where I keep my supplies. So this looks like a lot, but it's actually pretty bare bones. I mean, I've been looking at a lot of the setups that people are doing online, and some of them look like a playground. So I think that for me, the biggest difference really is the mic stand. I think the mic stand really helps things a lot. Having a chair with no wheels, really helpful, because then you can use blue painter's tape to mark the spots. So really important. Let's see, Bright Art and Education says, do you know if there are any issues using Discord with minors? I'm not so sure about that. I think the age is 13. I could be wrong about that, so you probably want to look that up. But I mean, we were very careful on the Art Prof Discord. For example, we have a couple channels that are organized by age. So we have a channel that's for high school students. We have one that's for college students. We did not want to have one for middle school students because we didn't want people identifying themselves as middle school students. So I think being conscious of things like that is really helpful. And Marissa says, I'm having the toughest time with online jewelry. Any tips? I'm new to teaching and learning jewelry. Well, are you wondering about art supplies, Marissa, or are you asking about prompts? Because I think for jewelry, the biggest challenge I would imagine is probably the supplies. That's what I think is really tricky, because it's like, oh my God, what do you do if you don't have supplies? So it's really, really hard. I mean, one thing you might take a look at is in our teaching and learning art online section, we do have a home art supplies section. Let me see if I can pull that up for you so you can see exactly what that looks like, because I'm really quite astounded by what you can use just around the house. Because I could imagine that you could take toilet paper tubes and turn that into a cuff. I feel like you could make something out of cereal boxes. It's like you can do a lot, actually, I think, with recycled materials. Sandy says, I joined Discord. I don't know how to get in touch with you guys. Okay, so what you need to do, Sandy, if you go down to the YouTube video description, there is a section that says join our Discord server. There's an invite link. So the thing about Discord, you can join Discord, but you have to actually join the server, because there's many different servers within Discord. So you have to find the Art Prof server, and that is in the YouTube video description below. I have a question from Yulia. Not sure what your usage policy is. May I use your website to my students on how to take photos of their work? Absolutely. Artprof.org is totally free. We don't have any type of paywall for our content. I just ask that if people do use something from our website, that we get credit, that you say this is from artprof.org, this is their page. As long as you do that, I'm totally fine. If you take my stuff, you put your name on it, not cool. So don't do anything like that. Okay, we have a comment here from Kenneth. Tried to teach a class on YouTube. I had a PayPal account set up with it. Didn't go as well, more likely because I had a fee. I guess when you have more famous artists doing demos for free, people will go to those sites. It really depends, Kenneth. I mean, I know people who teach on YouTube who do charge premium for certain types of content. I think what's more common if you're trying to make a living doing something like that is, I think actually what a lot of people do is they'll have, say, a couple videos that are free, like as a preview, so people can see, oh, this is what your teaching style is like, this is what your videos are like, and then you can put some other videos behind a paywall. Because I think it's hard to get people to pay for a course if they don't get to experience at least a little piece of it. So you might try, but it's hard. I mean, it's a lot of work. There's a ton of people out here. And I can tell you guys, I started thinking about teaching online in 2014. I've been working on this for 6 years. So this is not something that is easy to throw together really quickly. It takes a lot of time. Kristen is saying, can you remind us about the model of webcam that you use? Yes, I can. And actually, I think that the model that I recommended, it's so popular that it's actually out of stock. But you know something? Let me show you what it looks like. So this is the webcam that I recommend. It's Logitech C922. And the thing I really like about this webcam is that it's so flexible. And what I usually do is I attach it with a rubber band onto my mic stand. And this is really cool, is that you can adjust the angle of the webcam without actually repositioning it. So this webcam you're looking at, it's in the same position, but you take your finger and you just move it. That's really important. So whatever webcam you get, if you can't get this particular one, get one that looks somewhat similar. Because if you guys go back and you look at this, like you can see it bends. And so that's the most important thing right now, is that you guys have stuff like that. Oh, this is a great idea. Heather Boyd says jewelry, paper clips. See, that's fantastic. I just love that. There's so many different things that you can do. Samina is saying, how long should a demo be for students? I mean, it depends on the age level of your students. I would say for high school, I'm sure you can do an hour. Middle school, I would say a little bit shorter. College, maybe an hour and 15 or 20 minutes or so. But I would not go beyond an hour and a half. I think that's an awfully long time for people to draw. But it depends. I mean, I've been doing live drawing tutorials here at Art Prof, and I did one that was 2.5 hours long, and people still hung out. So it really depends. I think the key to teaching online, you guys, is so much of it is trial and error. So if you do a demo and you find, oh man, everybody just totally cut out after 45 minutes, then just do 45 minutes. You have to be willing to make those changes, because teaching online, it's not a perfect science. And I've been doing this for so long, and I'm always changing things. And so it's not a static experience. It's one you have to continually be building on top of. Let's see. Mario is asking, beyond Zoom fatigue, what other challenges might instructors and students have using the Zoom experience? Okay, well, let me pull up, Mario, one of my slides that talks about some of these issues with Zoom, because the more I talk to students about Zoom, the more I'm convinced it's just a bad platform for studio art. Maybe for other topics, it's fine. So you have the Zoom fatigue, but you know something, the whole compelling reason I think why people want Zoom is because they say, oh, well, if the students are on video, I know that they're there and I know that they're paying attention, but they're not. You guys, do you know how easy it is to sit there on Zoom and look like you're paying attention and have an iPad on the side watching Netflix? I mean, so many students said to me, yeah, I played video games the whole time. Or actually, I had a lot of students. I mean, this is sort of a good thing. They're like, yeah, I just sketched people during the Zoom call, but it's like they're not paying attention. And so I just think that it's really overrated in terms of what people think it can do. I think there's so many other platforms that are way, way better. And the live chat is so much better than forcing people to be on video. I think being on video is just really, really exhausting for a lot of people. Nicole is saying, any suggestions for a type of daylight lamp? The one on the link is unavailable. Wow, these items are just like selling out like crazy. I had no idea. I'm sure there's got to be another version of that. You just want to make sure that it's a daylight lamp. And so I bet you anything, if you go to the link I have, Amazon will tell you something that's a little bit similar. So you might try something like that. And we have another question. W315, do you rehearse your demos with a timer? I do not. I just click live and I just go. And the reason why is because I guess for the longest time as a teacher, I kept thinking that, oh, well, this has to be like so perfect, but it does not. And if you guys are teachers, those of you who are watching right now, people are very forgiving, you guys, about the quality of a live video. Like, here's something that I tell people a lot, that if somebody's watching a pre-recorded video, they're way more judgmental. If there's an error during a live video, like right now, if I mess up or if I pause for a second, most of you guys are probably not going to care. Some of you might. Maybe you're really judgmental and critical. You might leave, but I don't care. It's like, it doesn't matter. So I think it's not as big of a deal as people might think. I get it, because being online, being live, it's a new experience. And of course, it's going to feel awkward and strange. I mean, that's definitely the way it's going to be. But yeah, I think if you think about, if you are a brick and mortar teacher and you're used to showing up and just doing the demo, like, just do that. Like, don't try to reformat the way you normally teach. You're just translating it in a different way. So yeah, like Marissa's saying right now, I'm a high school art teacher and artist. Live definitely feels better. Yeah, like, doesn't it feel closer to what you would be doing in real life? I think that that's a really important thing to do. Fami is asking about the needed eraser video. Do you have a question about that? Let us know if that's something you want to know about. And let's go back to some of these other slides so I can show you guys some of these things about the equipment that's very, very helpful. So here, let me present this. Get that in there. Okay. All right, so MS is asking, want to sell on Etsy, no results. Want to know how to sell in art shops or exhibitions? I would go to our playlist on our YouTube channel. It's called Career Advice for Artists. We have lots of videos in there about pricing art, selling art online, networking, business tips, all those types of things. So I would recommend watching that playlist of videos because it'll give you a good grounding for how to get started. We got a lot of information packed in there. Okay, so here's the content. And now this is what I'm recommending because I'm finding a lot of people have a lot of trouble right now getting a good tripod. And I'm seeing a lot of people in situations where their head is like in front of something else and it's really difficult. So this tripod boom mic stand, which is not expensive, I just attach it with a rubber band and the webcam, and the mic stand is so flexible. Like it will go in any direction you want it to go in. Whereas a lot of these tripods that I see people using, they're not working. They're too short. They get in the way of your body or your body gets in the way of them. And so these are so easy. You can change the angle of the mic stand. You can make them go high up. You can move it on the floor. I mean, that's the thing is I feel that a lot of people, the setups that they're doing to do these physical demos, they're so constricted in terms of space. Like people are working in this tiny little space and it's really hard to do a demo in that situation. The fact that my mic stand is so high up from where I'm seated, I think is really, really important because, for example, getting the right camera angle is really hard for a lot of people. So usually people have issues because they have stuff like this. But what you have to do is make those adjustments a little bit at a time. And sometimes it's like you just push the webcam forward. Sometimes you push it back. And so what I really recommend you guys do is if you go back to the page that I showed you guys earlier, we'll go to here. This is the main section that I showed you guys earlier. But if you scroll down, there is this page called Equipment for Teachers. So I have all the links there, I have all the images, and hopefully that's a good reference for some of you guys. Cool. Heather says, I put a chair in my table, lay my tripod on the chair, so my camera's over my hands. And yeah, if you guys are in the Discord, I think it'd be really cool to compare notes because I find in the Facebook groups, again, it's harder to see things. There's something about the Discord that's a lot easier. So yeah, whatever works for you, I think is really good. And obviously, you know, everybody has a totally different set of needs. And I think that you just have to do what works best for you. Antonia says, I DM'd you a question about streaming in a model live for life drawing pros and cons. I teach college level. I was wondering if you could explain a little bit more. Okay, great. I'm really happy that you brought that up. I think here's what I would say is I'm seeing a lot of people, they are saying, well, okay, we have a Zoom call and I want to have a live model posing. So there's a camera on the live model and they're doing all these different poses. In my opinion, it would be so hard for that live model to, number one, have a good enough camera that you can actually see anything. Also, for the models get to position the camera in a way that you actually get a good view of the model that's not totally distorted, because you'd be surprised camera angles are really hard to do well. It's one of the most difficult things to do. And so I would just be really concerned, and I would actually be very surprised if a model could do it, because you need experience and skills to be able to do that. I don't think you can assume that the average artist model has that. And the thing is, if they're just doing still poses, then in my opinion, you might as well just use a photograph, because then the photograph is photographed better. It has better lighting. It has the right angle. And so I just don't see the compelling reason why the model has to be live, because just the visual will be so heavily compromised. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe somebody out there has made it work in a really effective way, but I'm just doubtful considering all the factors, all the things that could go wrong in terms of the physical setup for the model. Annie is saying, I've been using a mic stand for my Facebook Live art sessions. It's worked wonderfully. Husband is a musician and set me up with it. Well, isn't that convenient, Annie? I guess we all should have married husband musicians. Our spouses should have been musicians. That would have really been helpful at all. Marissa is saying, don't live model on Zoom. Too easy to hack, and his or her privacy could be compromised. That is another really, really good point, Marissa. I mean, I know technically people could argue potentially, oh, well, they could sign this, but it's like you don't know. And Zoom has not had a good reputation lately from what I've been hearing on the news about being very secure. And I just know I would feel terrible if something went wrong and their privacy was compromised. And so what I've been doing, actually, you guys, let me see if I can show you. I don't know if I have a slide of it. Oh, I do. Here we go. So let me pull this up and show you guys what I've been doing is I actually have been using nude photos by photographers. So for example, this is a photo by photographer Irving Penn. I did one a couple days ago that was using photos by Robert Mapplethorpe. I did another one that had Edward Weston photos. Like, to me, this is much better and easier to get than all of the concerns about having a live model on Zoom. I mean, maybe somebody can show me a situation where it worked. I'm just very doubtful about it. And Marissa's saying, how about pictures to a closed group for your students? You could, it's just there's already so much online that's so good. Like, I found these wonderful nude figure photos by Imogen Cunningham. There are some beautiful ones by Francesca Woodman, Diane Arbus, and some of those photos are really remarkable. I mean, they're beautiful pieces to begin with. And I actually had a lot of people who were drawing along with me, and they're like, wow, I'm learning not just about figure drawing, but I'm now hearing about all these fine art photographers that I didn't know anything about. And so I think that this is a better version of that, because then you don't have to worry about privacy. It's like, these are Robert Mapplethorpe photos. Everybody's seen them. They're out there. And so I think it's okay. Yeah. And sorry, let me go to Annie. Says, with a live model on screen, it would not be different than drawing or painting from a picture. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, if the model is on a screen and they're standing still, what's the difference between that and a photo? I'd much rather just use the photo. Yeah, so Bright Art and Education says, what is the real point? Video is as 2D as a photo. Exactly, right? Mario is saying, when working with minors, is there a way for them to chat with the instructor and other students while blocking outsiders from contacting them? Okay, so I'm going to assume, Mario, that you're talking about Discord. So let me go to the slide so that way people know what I'm talking about. So the thing about the Discord is you just give the invite link to your students. Don't put it anywhere else. And so if you only give it to the students you want in there, nobody else will enter. Our Discord invite link is public because we want people to join. But if you don't give the invite link to anybody else, that will block the outsiders. So you should be fine in that sense. But yeah, again, that's why you need to do your research. And you need to have the Discord be moderated. So that way people are really seeing, okay, who's actually entering this. Heather is asking, no copyright issues with using the photos. Okay, so here's a really good question. Now, if you are doing an image, let's say, of a Robert Mapplethorpe photo, okay, that in terms of YouTube falls under fair use because you're using it for educational purposes on YouTube. I think what people tend to get copyright strikes on YouTube is if you take a video clip from a movie and you show it in your YouTube video. People get cracked down on that a lot, but not so much for images. I think for images, the ones that people do crack down on are paparazzi images. So those pictures of, you know, Hugh Jackman at the beach. Not like I've ever looked at those before. You know, Hugh Jackman beach. I Google that every once in a while. But those are the images. You don't want to mess with those because those are photographers who make their living off of those paparazzi photos. And those photographers, they actively are searching for people that rip off their stuff, and they sue all the time. Those are the people you don't want to mess with. Robert Mapplethorpe, anything from art history, anything that's public domain, you are totally fine. And so I would not worry about that. And I'm always very careful that I list the name of the artist. Oftentimes in the picture, I'll write Irving Penn and stuff like that. So as long as you're careful about that, I think that's the important thing. Lisa is saying Croquis Cafe is a good model reference site. So actually, I believe it's spelled like this, Croquis Cafe. I could be wrong again, but I'm thinking that is the correct spelling for that. Yeah, they're more like a stock live artist model photo bank. I'm not such a fan of their stuff because I think a lot of the lighting is really badly done. And some of the images, in my opinion, they're a little bit tacky, but whatever works for you guys. I mean, I think the important thing is that you use photos that you think are going to help your students in whatever way possible. Because that's the thing is, again, I just don't think you guys, we have to reinvent the wheel for everything. It's like there's already great videos out there. There's already great nude photos out there. It's just, you have to get out there and do it, because trying to do everything from scratch, I think, is just totally impossible and way too much work, to be honest. Okay, Whitney Bennett has a question. Let me just pull this up. When do you send snail mail to Patreon supporters? Is it every month? Can I write back? Would you read it, or do you have people do that for you? Okay, snail mail for Patreon supporters. If you guys are wondering what I'm talking about, if you become a Patreon supporter here at Art Prof, one of the rewards you can choose to receive is an artwork from me. It's usually a postcard, and I draw something quick on it. I write a letter. And so that's something you can choose to receive. It is every month. It comes at different times. I mean, I tend to send it towards the end of the month. So depending on where you are, you might not get it until like the beginning of the next month, because there's some people who get that reward, but they're in Europe. And so I might send it like June 28th. They may not get it until 2 weeks later. So you don't know exactly. You can totally write back. I will tell you, I don't check my PO box that often, so I don't know that I'll be that prompt about getting it necessarily. I do read everything we get, but I don't always have the capability to apply. In fact, most of the time I don't, because there's just so much going on right now. Art Prof has sort of been in high demand lately, but Whitney, thank you very much for supporting us. We always appreciate that. Oh, and Yulia is saying Croquis Cafe wants teachers and schools to pay. Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought that they were free, but I guess I'm being corrected now. Okay, thank you for the information. Really appreciate you updating us on that. Winged Canvas is saying, when you teach via stream, do you use OBS or OBS Streamlabs? Okay, well, let me go back and show you guys some of the slides about how I actually set that up, so you guys can take a better look. Okay, I happen to use OBS. There is OBS Streamlabs, which is a little bit more broad in terms of capability. I have never used OBS Streamlabs because actually the software I'm using right now is called StreamYard, and I'm finding for Art Prof's purposes, StreamYard is better. But some people use OBS Streamlabs a lot, and OBS Streamlabs definitely has more capability than just plain OBS. But I don't have experience with Streamlabs, so you'll have to check it out and see how that works. Marissa is officially hip. Loaded Discord, join the group. So grateful for amazing supportive communities. Awesome. Really exciting about that. And Autumn says, won't know if I'm teaching art until July 14th in Virginia. They're hinting that the fine arts department will be math assistants. What? Yeah, I don't think that's the best use for our skill set. Yeah, not a good idea, guys. Mario is saying, so many museums around the world offering virtual gallery and collection tours and visits. Are there any that you find especially worthwhile and user-friendly? I have not checked out a lot of those collections. I really should spend time doing a deep dive on that. But I can tell you the sites that I find the most friendly are the ones that really prioritize images, which, duh, of course. I mean, of course that's going to be the case. But the thing is, haven't you guys found that a lot of the museum pages, if you like look up an artist, there aren't that many images. Like if you go to, I forget if it's a National Gallery, there's one museum in the US where if you Google like JMW Turner in their site, just this whole chunk of text shows up. I'm like, dude, I want to see photos. Like, yes, I want to read about the artist, but I just find that some of the museum sites, I'm like, really? You guys really should prioritize the images. Like the MoMA pages, the images are like all the way down to the bottom, and that just drives me up the wall. So I would just prioritize the ones that are like really image-based. Like actually for me, the site that I really like a lot, if I just want to look at images, is Artsy. So I'll put that in the Artsy for images. So if I want to look up an artist, most of the time I will find them on Artsy before I find them on, say, National Gallery, because Artsy is just so well organized. The images are at the top. It's so easy to find stuff. So I really recommend using them. And oh, good. Yulia's got information on Croquis Cafe. Find artists use their stuff for free. $250 per teacher, $2,500 per. Oh my God, that's a lot. Yeah, people really pay that. I can't imagine that I would pay for that. I feel like what I would like to do if I ever had the money or budget is to shoot our own stock for Art Prof for people to use, but we just don't have the access right now. So not something that we can do. But yeah, another thing I would do, you guys, is look up Smart History and also the other sites. Let me see if I can pull this up into our slideshow. I mean, the two sites that I really think are outstanding for information, Smart History is really good. My colleague who has been teaching art history for years and years and years, I actually asked him a few years ago, I was like, oh, so what is the textbook that you use now for art history? He's like, I don't use a textbook. I just use Smart History now. I was like, wow, really? It's that good? He's like, yeah, it has everything you need. There's no reason to buy a textbook. And then the other one, other than Art Prof, would be PBS Art 21. I mean, these are such good artist interviews. Like, why would you not want to use these? Why would you make your own artist interviews when somebody's already made brilliant documentaries on renowned contemporary artists? So it's like there's stuff out there. You just have to know what to look for. And Yulia says, full website for Artsy. I believe it's just artsy.com. If you just look up Artsy, you'll find it, because I don't know the exact URL. And Autumn is saying, middle school art expecting a hybrid model need to prep the first 3 weeks as virtual using numbers. Well, I recommend you guys, I don't know how many of you guys have seen our prompts area, but let me pull that up to show you guys. So if you go to Teaching and Learning Art Online on artprof.org, you can see in the arrow that there is a category here called Art Prompts. And if you click on that page, you're going to find so many prompts that you can do virtually. Now, they either use regular materials, like, for example, the Lotus Fold book. You can't make the book covers, but you can just make the actual book part. Coptic book, you could just stitch together without doing the covers. Recycled book sculpture, or some of these are digital, or some of them it's like make a zine or something like that. And so I really recommend you guys check out this art prompt area, because we selected particular prompts from artprof.org that we knew could be formatted to be taught online, because we have a lot of resources, but some of them are not good for remote learning. But everything here is, or it's a prompt that is more concept-based. So there's a prompt down here at the bottom. It's called Cooking Recipe Illustration, where you just find a recipe anywhere and you do an illustration of that. And you could do that in any material. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could do that in pencil, you could do it in markers, doesn't really matter. So we tried to pick topics that were super flexible, could be interpreted in other ways, or there's some way you could customize the project to make it simpler and easier to make at home. So I'm hoping that a lot of you guys can take advantage of that, because really, guys, I think the whole lesson here is that we need to rely on each other, and we can't just be making everything from scratch. That's totally ridiculous and not necessary. Okay, guys, I'm going to be in the Discord in about a few minutes. I will be hanging out in the post live streams channel. If you guys want to hang out with me there, the invite link is in the video description. Ha, we got a great comment from Autumn. My teenager is here agreeing, nodding, yup, double speed. Your students are not watching your videos at the regular speed. They're speeding it up, you guys. Subscribe to our channel and join the Art Prof family. And thank you so much to our top Patreon supporters who make all of this possible. Thank you, teachers. Good luck. Stay in touch with us. We will see you next time. Bye.